Hi sweeties, how are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim. If this is your first time of coming across this channel, sweetheart, kindly smash the subscribe button, turn on the notification so you get notified each time I upload, and please give this video a thumb up. I appreciate you all, and I want to say a very big thank you to every one of you for always supporting me, coming through for me. You all are super amazing. Thank you all so much. So today we'll be talking about how a white man, got roasted for asking question. And first of all, he started with, white people don't experience racism. You're delusional, right? And he was asking this popular Asian woman. And you know what? This woman decided to use this opportunity to roast him. I mean, this white man absolutely got roasted. And you actually need to hear her talk. Stay glued to the screen. Let me roll this clip. We'll come back to talk about it, and let me know what you all think in the comment section. And you know what? Each time I see this woman, I know it is a time for lecture, and absolutely she did give the word they asked for. So let's get into this. Let me roll the clip.
I find that a good way to help people who have a different lived experience than you exercise empathy for the struggles that you face that they may not be familiar with is to help them understand. And I was hoping that you could help me understand what anti-white racism looks like. Can you tell me about how you don't know where your ancestors came from because they were kidnapped and enslaved? Or how you don't know what languages they spoke, what spiritual practices they had, or what traditional knowledge that should have been your birthright was lost, not because they were allowed to and wanted to assimilate, but because their enslavers or residential schools forced them to assimilate? Can you tell me about how your ancestors had explosives tied to them while they were building the United States railroads, and then as a show of appreciation, they were excluded from society for nearly 60 years? And could you tell me about the hundreds of towns that were destroyed, like the Black towns and Chinatowns and Japan towns, all destroyed by the same demographic? Can you tell me about the children who were unalived because they whistled at a woman or because they floated in a lake a little too far past the segregation line? And can you tell me how it was for your parents and your grandparents to be United States citizens who were put in internment camps on United States soil? Can you tell me how it was for your family to live in the back of their store because people who look like you were not allowed to purchase or rent homes? And could you tell me how it was for your parents and for you to shed blood, to be treated as human, as equal, and to be allowed to simply share the same space as other people? Can you tell me about the conversations that you have to have with your children about police interactions? And could you tell me about how your mother and your sisters and your daughters are concerned about having children because of lack of equitable access to health care, because doctors were told that people who look like you can't feel pain? Can you tell me how it feels to know that your ancestors lived here for thousands of years, but when you try to come here, you and your children are put in cages? And can you tell me how it felt when a few years ago, the president entertained having people who look like you expelled from the country again? Can you tell me what anti-white racism looks like beyond having your feelings hurt, feeling uncomfortable, and having your sense of superiority challenged? And when you're done telling me what anti-white racism feels like for you, could you please tell me why you're not fighting to end racism for everybody?
Really, I wonder what the person that asked this question, what he is doing right now, and how he is faring. I hope he got the answer he asked for. You know what? You know, each time I see her, I know that something is about to go down. Something. You know what? We are going to get into the stitches because a lot of people were able to stitch, give their own 2 cents on what and how they feel and all that. Stay glued to the screen. Let me roll the stitches and then we'll come back to talk about it. And I absolutely want to read all your comments. So let's get into it.
You know, about 10 years ago, my best friend, who was white, called me up. He said he had just got an account with this bank and they immediately gave him a loan. He called me because he knew that I had a better paying job and I had better credit than him. So I said, yeah, I am looking for a new car. I think I'll go check it out. I went there, I got an account, and then I inquired about a loan. Now I'm working with this older white woman, and she immediately tells me that I'm not qualified for anything. So I leave. I come back about a year later with 2 jobs this time. And I'm greeted by another older white lady. She tells me that I'm still not qualified, that she needs to see more from me. So I leave. I come back a year later, this time with the best job that I've ever had, that paid more than I had ever been paid before. Also at this time, my friend is getting his second loan on a car. She looks at everything and says that she needs to still see more. So I said, you know what, forget this. I'm going to do it on my own. So I go out and I buy my first brand new car. High interest and all. A year later, I come back to get it refinanced, and I'm greeted by a younger white woman. She takes a look and she sees everything that I've done and tells me that she just needs to see more. So I leave. About 6 months later, I decide to try one more time to get that car refinanced. This time I'm helped by a younger black gentleman. He takes a few seconds to look at everything and immediately approves me for that loan. I wonder why. Tell me as a white person when you've had any experience like that.
I find that a good way to help people who have a different lived experience than you.
I love that creator. Go follow them and like them and support them. And I just wanted to add on a little bit. There's been this annoying trend that whenever people talk about racism, people talk about anti-white racism, or, like reverse racism. Plenty of commentators have talked about how racism is institutional and therefore it goes in one direction. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about definitions. Specifically, how definitions can inhibit or enable social justice and discussions. People love to say racism is treating people based on the race, so therefore anyone can be racist to anyone and people can be racist to white people. But would we say it's racist to ask for a barber who has experience with Afro-textured hair? No, because definitions can mean different things in different contexts, which is why usually words have different versions of the definitions, alternatives. For example, Merriam-Webster defines racism as a belief that race is fundamental and determinate to establish an inherent superiority or to foster discrimination, right? Words can take on different meanings than their etymological roots. Homophobia isn't the fear of same as homo and phobic would suggest. It's a system that privileges and discriminates and antagonizes members of the LGBT and sometimes T population. Just like transphobia isn't the fear of trans people, it is the hatred and the systematic disenfranchising of them. But even aside from all that, let's just take the definition of racism at its face value. Any definition of racism requires a definition of a race or a concept of race. And the modern concept of race that we use to define racism was created in the 15th century to justify racial hierarchy and subjugation, discrimination, and enslavement. So yes, if the key feature of racism is hierarchical, then racism is hierarchical. But even if we look past all of that, and we fundamentally wanted to entertain anti-white racism, what do people want that to do? Racial reactionaries always comment that under people's videos to kind of be like a gotcha, which would suggest that you don't actually care about it and you just want us to shut up. Let's have a conversation about how white supremacy strips European Americans of their beautiful and diverse cultural, language, and religious identities. But people don't want that conversation. They just want us to be quiet, which isn't going to happen. And it's why maybe people and content creators such as myself respond to that way with comments about that. Because we know it's not genuine. You just want us to be quiet.
Could you please tell me why you're not fighting to end racism for everybody?
Go watch that video. Go follow that creator. She is the best thing to happen to TikTok in a long time.
This comment got left on another creator's video, and I will tag them below. And I wanted to chime in because I am white and I have a take on this. And my take is that we as white people cannot experience racism. Racism, by definition, is being oppressed by another race based on your race. And that is not something that white people experience, period. The term term reverse racism was invented by white people who did not want to take accountability for the ways in which racism manifests in their everyday life and their actions and their words. And frankly, we have a lot of fucking bigger fish to fry impending, in the world. And this is just something that as white people, we are going to need to transcend pretty quickly if we want to survive as a species.
You see this last one, I think this is the best answer to every one of them. Anybody that want to ask question racism and all that, and now it's kind of funny how they come back with reverse racism, like the other woman said. Sometimes it's like, yeah, reverse racism. I'm like, oh, yo, this is what you all made up, And I have really talked about this several times, white people do not experience racism. They can experience prejudice, but not racism. And I absolutely love how the Asian woman started by asking the questions and all of that. Absolutely a wonderful one. I totally enjoyed I totally enjoyed listening to her. Thank you all so much for all the support. Let me know what you all think in the comment section, and thank you all so much, and see you all in my next video. Bye for now.